Hello, my name is Ray Salazar, and this is The Morning Reel, a 3 or 4 or 100 minute or so podcast of films that I review, whether I watch them underwater, in space, on Earth, where it may be, I review it. And here we go. I'm excited to review this film. It's the first time I'm reviewing a film by Alfonso Cuaron. You might know him from such films such as Roma and Y tu mamá también. This one, Space, The Final Frontier. He directed the 2013 science fiction thriller classic called Gravity. The reason why I'm reviewing this film is because it was requested by Anthony Soto. Thank you, Anthony. Ooh. He directed this film and he co-wrote it with his brother, Jonas Cuaron, or Jonas, as one would say. Produced by Alfonso Cuaron, David Heyman, starring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. Imagine that. Two people in a film. You know, normally you would see that in a short film, but in this long, it's not even that long. It's a 90-minute film. Comedies are 90 minutes. Now, this is a thriller. This is a science fiction film. Some of those go for like almost 2 hours. Either way, cinematography by Emmanuel Lubezki, edited by Alfonso Cuaron and Mark Sanger, music by Stephen Price. The production company that made this film are Heyday Films in collaboration with Esperanto Filmos and distributed by Warner Brothers. Dun, dun, dun. This film was a big deal when it came out, and it still kind of is, really. It won a lot of awards. I'm a fan of Cuaron. I like his visual style. Not sure about his writing. I don't really follow his writing. But, you know, there are just some directors who write that they're not really more about their writing, they're more about their visuals, and vice versa. First of all, go watch this film. It's a really good film. It's written pretty well, and it's also directed pretty well. And this is coming from a person who is not too big on CGI. I don't watch too many movies that have a lot of or have a significant amount of CGI put into it. There's some films that work. They work. Even if I hate to admit that they work. You know, even the Marvel films. There, you happy guys? There. I admit it. Some of the Marvel films have some pretty good CGI. But this is not about Marvel. This is about Latinos. Nah, it's not even about Latinos. This is just about a movie. This film stars Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. Each to their own right. Pretty great actors. Pretty great performers. They shine no less in this film. It's crazy that this film is just two people, really. And I mean, there's a lot of like, you know, voiceover work, that type of action going on. But what I liked about the film is really the dynamic between, you know, Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. So, great job on the writing. I got to give credit to Cuaron with his writing because he wrote you know, it's a pretty simple film. Like, it's not hard to describe space. It's not hard to describe being inside a spaceship, but I'm pretty sure it was hard bringing that screenplay into the screen. I'm pretty sure he had an idea, and what we saw on screen is the best representation of it. Cuaron pays a lot of attention to detail, especially in his film Roma. That's another review. And in this one in particular, attention to detail is not only like the production design, but also the sound. Great sound in this film. It's really good. I mean, you hear certain sounds that you would probably normally recognize when you see the visual source of it. But in this very case, he does well, I guess the sound editor or the sound department basically they they fooled around. They fooled around in a good way. They made things odd. I love the absence of sound in this film too, because there are certain moments where normally you would hear sound, but I guess they stay true to how sound should sound like in space. Not that I've been there before, but I mean, what they did is the best representation of. So good job to them. Um, Very simple film. It's pretty much about a woman who has sort of given up on herself in a sense, or given up on life, given up on happiness due to the fact that, you know, she lost somebody very dear, very near to her. And sometimes when stuff like that happens, it just changes who you are, you know? You don't become yourself anymore. And it's weird how there's certain things that kind of, you know, make you stick around in this earth because everybody's different, right? As far as how they handle, well, everybody's different, period. And how they handle death or circumstances such as that. I mean, everybody has their own way of dealing with it or their own way of not trying to deal with it. And in this film, she's been given a second chance to pretty much earn her life back in a weird way. I mean, if you think about it, and it's funny because none of this is very detailed. None of this is like, it's just not so written, you know. It's basic as far as how certain information is thrown, not only, well, it's thrown at us, right? Because we're watching it, but thrown to other characters which act as a vessel of who we're dealing with. So again, Cuaron, good job on the writing, good job on character development. As always, George Clooney plays a cool cat, but he's a badass because he tries to save people. He tries to get things going. I mean, stuff happens in this film. There's it's basically a get back to Earth, you know, rescue mission. That's what it basically is. I mean, there's no big ass explosions. There's no gunshots. You know, there's nothing. There's no twists. It's a very simple film. You know, and we get to see how Sandra Bullock's character, the doctor, that doctor, and she's a real doctor. It's crazy to see doctors in space, right? Dr. Ryan Stone, her first space mission, it all goes to crap, and she has to get back home alone. And she's failed simulations of situations such as what she's dealing with, failed. So it's already suspenseful, you know, and that's one of the things that is key to not only a good film but a good screenplay is suspense, how it's built, how it's maintained, and this film is full of it. Even if it's mild, it's just the fact that it's the human will, you know. Do I want to survive? Do I want to live? Do I want to get home in one piece or maybe two? I don't know. What this character went through put her up on game again. It gave her a reason to live. She doesn't want to die. It's crazy. You would think that a woman in her position, or rather a person in her position, would be totally okay dying, but she doesn't want to die. You know, I guess because maybe, and that's the thing that I was trying to figure out for myself as far as like, you know, I know why she wants to go back home. I mean, she saw death in front of her eyes from people who were willing to give up their lives for her. And that's the thing that just ticked in her head. And this is nothing that's detailed, you know, it's not written in like in the finest detail because it's a simple film, but we see it and it's very basic. You know, George Clooney goes out of his own way to save her. And man, George Clooney, seeing him just float away from the screen, it's saddening. It hurts to see a good looking man die. It went from I can to I can and I will and I'm going home, and home she goes. And oh, spoiler alert. I mean, come on, man. Like, it's the will. It's about the human will. It's about how people change their lives for you, how they're willing to give it up just like that without even no hesitation. I think that's the whole message about this film is to like just when life does get tough, you still gotta hold on. You gotta succeed, you know. You gotta overcome whatever challenges you got. This is Ray Salazar. Follow me at Morning Shot Films on IG and YouTube. Rate and review this episode and this podcast and or called Morning Reel. It's on all audio platforms such as Google Play, iHeart, Spreaker. I'm also on YouTube. And last one, but and not least, Apple Podcasts. I am not on Spotify because they do not care about their artists slash bands. So why? Sorry, Joe Rogan. Anyways, next week, Inception by Christopher Nolan. I can talk about it right now if I want to, but that's just for another episode. Thank you.